Okay, now we have to now begin with another method in which we can solve given linear programming problem, which is known as the two-phase method. Okay. Now, one that we have learned, which was given, which is called as the big M or the penalty method. It has different names. The other method is the two-phase method. Okay, you can use either of them to solve the given problem. It's entirely up to you, unless and until it's mentioned. In the exam, if it's mentioned that you have to solve the given programming problem by two-phase, then you have to follow this method only. Okay. Now, in this, as the name itself suggests, we are talking of two phases. Okay. So that means what happens is that your given linear programming problem is solved in two phases. Okay. In phase one, we construct what is called as the auxiliary LPP. That means from the given linear programming problem, whatever we are solving, of course, in the standard form, or even if it's the given linear programming problem, we construct its corresponding auxiliary LPP. Okay, how? That I'll tell you just now. Okay, so once we have constructed this auxiliary LPP, that becomes your phase one. That means you are not solving your original linear programming problem, you are solving the auxiliary linear programming problem by using the simplex algorithm. So that means we talk of initial basic feasible solutions, we talk of initial table, we solve it as we have done in simplex algorithm. We look for the entering criteria, leaving criteria, and we look for the optimality criteria as well. Okay. So what happens is that once phase one ends, okay, then we come back to phase two. Okay. That means your phase two will now handle your original linear programming problem. So in a way, what is happening is that half of the problem gets solved in phase one. Now, wherever, I mean, on whatever optimal table your phase one ends, your phase two starts from there. Okay, so that means like in big M or the penalty method, what we used to do was we had the original linear programming problem with us. If it had more than or equal to type constraints or equal to type constraints, we had to incorporate artificial variables. So those artificial variables helped us with the initial basic feasible solutions, right? So in this case, what will happen is that wherever phase one ends, that solution becomes the initial solution for phase two. Okay, so that means phase two starts from where phase one ends. And then again, simplex algorithm is followed, and then we move on, okay, the way we have done earlier. Now, the only advantage here is that most of the times at the end of phase one, you get to know what type of solution is the problem going to have. So you don't have to proceed to phase two in such cases. So basically, your two-phase method is less time consuming compared to your big M or the penalty method. Number one. And number two, it can be used. The two-phase method can also be used. I mean, this is one application of simplex algorithms that we can use it to find the inverse of a matrix, as well as we can use it to find, we can use it to solve a system of simultaneous linear equations. Okay, so in these things also, see, we have learned both to do both with the help of matrices, I mean, with the help of elementary operations. And simplex algorithm is nothing but a combination of elementary operations only. So we can use the two-phase method. This is not possible with big M method, but we can use the two-phase method to find the inverse of a matrix, and as well as to solve a system of linear equations, simultaneous system of linear equations. Okay, so we learn how to do this one by one once we have learned how to handle two-phase method. Okay, now when we start with phase one, as we say, the first step is to write the corresponding auxiliary linear programming problem. Now, auxiliary linear programming problem is your original linear programming problem with only a change in their objective function. Okay? In the sense that In the objective function, says what we do in auxiliary LPP is that from a given Z, that is your original objective function, we construct a Z star where all the decision variables, that means x1, x2, whatever decision, slack, surplus, whatever variables you have, these variables will have a coefficient 0. Okay, and only the artificial variables that were added in the problem, they will have a coefficient of -1 with them. Okay, that means your objective function in a way consists of only the artificial variables with the coefficient -1 attached to it. That is your auxiliary LPP. The constraints remain the same. There is no change in the constraint. We are not going to change them. Okay. I think let's start with some problem. Okay. Like for example, I have to solve, say, yeah. Let's take a minimization problem so that we handle both. Okay. Supposing I have to solve minimize z equal to 5x1 plus 8x2 subject to 3x1 plus 2x2 more than or equal to 3, x1 plus 4x2 more than or equal to 4, and x1 plus x2 less than or equal to 5, and where x1, x2 are more than or equal to 0. Have you noted the problem? All
Yes.
of you? Okay, now we have to solve it. Okay. So you're working with me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Hanji? Any problem? Now, the first thing that we do here is we write the standard form first, because that is also important, right? Because that the standard form will be my original linear programming problem that we have to solve. Okay. So since it's minimization, so now my objective function will be maximizing, what do I call it? Z dash, which will be minus 5x1 minus 8x2, right? Subject to. Now in the standard form, we are not going to change because we are not following the begin method. So I'm not going to add or subtract anything in this objective function for the artificial variables. Okay. So my constraints will now become 3x1 plus 2x2. Now see, it's a more than or equal to type constraint. So I'll have a surplus variable and an artificial variable. So minus x3 plus a1 equal to 3. The second constraint will be x1 plus 4x2 minus x4 plus a2 equal to 4. Now, they were both more than or equal to type constraints, so we need surplus as well as artificial variables. But my third constraint is already less than or equal to type. So an artificial is not required there. A slack per variable will serve the purpose. Okay, so I'll have a plus x5 equal to 5, where my x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, a1, a2, they are all more than or equal to 0. Now, at the most, what you can do is have 0x3, 0x4, and 0x5. Okay. Now, I'm not writing anything on the regarding the artificial variables there. Okay. So this becomes my standard form of the linear programming problem that we are going to solve now. Okay. But since I'm following the two-phase method, so I have to write the corresponding auxiliary LPP. Okay. The corresponding auxiliary LPP means my objective function will have 0 coefficients with all the decision variables, and slack and surplus except the artificial, which will have a coefficient of -1 attached to it. Okay. So my objective function will now become maximize z star equal to 0x1 plus 0x2 plus 0x3 plus 0x4 plus 0x5, but minus a1 minus a2, because I had two artificial variables. So basically, even if you don't write these variables here, it's okay, because their coefficient are 0, but then you must know them because we need them in the simplex table. Okay, but all other all other constraints will remain the same. Okay, so my first constraint will be 3x1 plus 2x2 minus x3 plus a1 equal to 3, right? The second was x1 plus 4x2 minus x4 plus a2 equal to 4, and the last one was x1 plus x2 plus x5 equal to 5, and of course your non-negativity restrictions still there. Okay, so that we still have to mention x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, a1, a2, they're all more than or equal to 0. Okay, now we begin with solving the phase 1 of our problem. Okay, so phase 1 means solving the auxiliary linear programming problem. Okay, so we'll have to construct the initial table. Okay, so now you can start your calculations. Okay, so my variables are x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, a1 and a2, right? And my CJs are going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, -1 and -1. Okay. Now, when you make the entries here, the right hand side is 3, 4, 5. X1 will be now 3, 1, 1. X2 will be 2, 4, 1. X3 -1, 0, 0. X4 0, -1, 0. X5 0, 0, 1. A1 1, 0, 0 and A2 0, 1, 0. Okay. So your table itself is telling you that your basic variables are A1, A2 and X5, right? So the coefficients here are going to be -1, -1 and 0. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we begin with our calculations so that you can do quickly. My Z or Z star, as I have called it, it's going to be -1 into 3 plus -1 into 4, which makes it -7. Okay. Now I need ZJs and ZJ minus CJs. So what are the ZJs here? -4, -6, 1, 1. Am I right? 0, -1, -1. Right? And your ZJ minus CJs? 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay. So which variable enters?
X2.
X2 enters, right? This variable enters. Now what about the ratios? It's going to be 3 by 2, 4 by 4 and 5 by 1. So which is the minimum?
4 by 4.
4 by 4, which is 1, right? So A2 leaves the basis, right? So now you can move on to the next table. Now A2 leaves the basis means 4 becomes your pivot element. So we have to make this 4 1. So we change R2 to R2 by 4 and then change R1 and R3 with appropriate transformations to make this 2 and this 1 0. Okay. Now I hope you're doing it, all of you. Because now I want the final answer. Now your basic variables are actually A1, X2 and X5 with coefficient -1, 0, 0. And your variables are X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, A1, A2, right? With coefficients this. Okay. Now we're changing R2 to R2 by 4 first, right? So this becomes 1 by 4. Of course, I can make these entries first. X5. Right. Then is the next 0, then -1 by 4, 0, 0 and 1 by 4, right?
Ma'am, A2 will not there, na? Means the values for the A2 will not be
No,
computed.
no, keep it. Keep it. We are doing two-phase now. Okay? We'll
Okay,
get rid of all the artificial columns after the end of phase 1. Though, of course, they can never re-enter. We know that, but still. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Now, what are you changing first, R1 or R3?
R1.
R1. Okay. Can I have the entries now?
Ma'am, the first row becomes 1, 5 by 2, 0, -1, half, 0, 1, minus half.
0, 1 and minus half. That's right. What about the third row? See, I want to hear other people also. Otherwise, randomly, I'm going to ask names and tell them to give me the values. There are only 4 or 5 of you who are always active in the class. The rest, I don't know whether you've just logged in and gone off to sleep. Now, can I have the last row?
Ma'am, 4.
4, yes.
3 by 4, 0, 0, 1, 1.
For X4.
Yes, ma'am, 1.
Is it 1?
1 by 4.
Ma'am, 1 by 4.
1 by
It should
4.
be 1 by 4, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
1 by 4, then 1.
Minus 1 by 4.
The last one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's right. Now see, your Z star is now -1. Because it's -1 into 1 and the other coefficients are all 0. So you'll see your Z star keeps on increasing the value, okay? And the moment artificial variables get removed from the basis, we'll have either decision variables or slack or surplus whose coefficients are all 0 in this auxiliary linear programming problem. So where phase 1 ends, your Z star will always end up with a 0 there. Okay. So to move on and to check whether we have reached optimality or not, we need the values of Zj's and Zj minus Cj's anyways. So what are the Zj's here? The other two rows are 0, so minus 5 by 2, 0, 1, minus 1 by 2, 0, minus 1, and 1 by 2. Is that right? So Zj minus Cj's are going to be minus 5 by 2, 0, 1, minus 1 by 2, 0, 0, and 3 by 2. Right? So which variable enters now?
X1.
X1.
X1 enters. That's right. Okay, because it has the most negative Zj minus Cj. Now, with the ratios, which one leaves?
A1.
A1 leaves because this has the minimum ratio, right? So A1 leaves and X1 enters, and 5 by 2 is your pivot element. So that means we have to make this 5 by 2 1. So basically multiply R1 with 2 by 5, right? And then change R2 and R3 to make 1 by 4 and 3 by 4 0. Okay. So I'm moving on to the next sheet now because I need this. Fine. Again, now do your calculations. Right? A1, A2. And of course, your coefficients are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, minus 1, minus 1. Okay. Now my basic variables are x1, x2, x5. Coefficients being 0, 0, 0 everywhere. Now 2 by 5 of R1 means the first row is 2 by 5, 1, 0. Is it minus 2 by 5? Then 1 by 5, 0, 2 by 5, and minus 1 by 5. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we have to change R2 and R3. So R2 will be R2 minus 1 by 4 new R1. And R3 will be R3 minus 3 by 4 new R1. Right? So let's have the entries now, if you are ready. What will be the second row? Okay.
I'm 9 by 10.
9 by 10, 0, 1,
1 by 10
1 by 10,
minus 3 by 10.
right?
0 minus
Hmm.
1 by 10.
Hmm.
3 by 10.
3 by 10. That's right. And the last row?
Ma'am, I didn't get this. What kind of transformation we are applying?
We are changing R2 to R2 minus 1 by 4 new R1.
Okay.
And R3 to R3 minus 3 by 4 new R1. Because we have to make 1 by 4 and 3 by 4 0 now.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Yes, ma'am, I got it.
okay.
I've done some mistake.
The last row. किया किसने?
Ma'am,
Hmm.
37 by 10.
Yeah. 37 by 10.
0, 0. 3 by 10. 3 by 10.
3 by 10.
1 by 10.
1 by 10.
Then 1 minus 3 by 10. Minus 1 by 10.
Minus 1 by 10. That's perfect. So now, the best thing now would be, see, your Z star will be 0, right? And not just Z star, all your ZJs will be 0. And your Zj minus Cjs will be 0. But with artificial variables, they will be positive. For all other, they'll be 0. Okay?
Ma'am,
Yes?
the value for the B for x5 will be 7 by 10.
I don't think so. It should be 37 by 10.
Yes, ma'am, it is 37 by 10.
4 minus 3 by 4 into 2 by 5. No. No. Sorry. एक बारी check कर लो. Because we are changing R3 to R3 minus 3 by 4 R1 new. You know? Just cross check it again.
Ma'am, it's 37 by 10.
Yeah. Right? So we have this. Now see, all the optimality criteria conditions are satisfied. Because all Zj minus Cjs are more than or equal to 0. That means we cannot proceed on with this simplex table right now. Now, that means one possibility is that we'll end up with this stage, this case. That means what has happened here? We have reached optimality. There is no artificial variable present in the basis. Okay? All my decision variables in the basis are, all my basic variables are x1, x2, and x5. Artificial variable has been removed. Okay? So this is where phase 1 ends, right? So in this case, you know, like if you end up with such a case, that means this is a case, I'm writing it as my first case, where maximum Z star is 0, as we have got here, right? Secondly, no artificial variable is present in the basis. That means all of them have been removed from the basis. Okay. So what happens is, that means in this case, we can move on to find the optimal solution for the original problem. So what we do here is, the algorithm says that we can now proceed to phase 2. Now, phase 2 means we begin with the original problem, the one that we have, okay? That means we solve the original LPP in the standard form that we had constructed, and the optimal table of phase 1 now becomes your initial table for phase 2. Okay, now what will be the difference here now? See, in this optimal table for phase 1, the coefficients that we have considered for the basic variables are 0, like this, right? But when we are solving the original linear programming problem, the coefficients actually are not 0. So that means we'll have to make changes in the CJs there, but all other entries remain the same. Okay, but the moment you change CJs, your values under the column of CB will also change, and hence the value of your Z will change. But the other things then we'll see. Other things means the entries in this matrix will remain the same, right? So that means we'll have to recompute our Z, we'll have to recompute our ZJs and ZJ minus CJs. The other thing remain the same. That means in a way, phase 1 has given us an initial basic feasible solution for the problem minus the artificial variables. Okay, so when we move to phase 2 now, your table will become something like, we'll have to write the table again, no doubts. But now we'll be solving the phase 2 here. Okay, so I'll write phase 2. Okay, and we'll make another table. But now we can do away with the artificial variables because we don't need them. Okay, so now my variables in the table will be only x1, x2, x3, x4, and x5. Okay, and my basic variables were x1, x2, x5. So now they will form my initial basic feasible solution. Okay, the coefficients in the standard form of the problem were what? -5, -8, 0, 0, 0. Am I right? And your values here will also be -5, -8, 0. Now the rest of the entries in the table we have to copy from the last table of phase 1. Okay, so what were they? 2 by 5, 9 by 10, and 37 by 10. Now x1 100, x2 010, and x5 was 001, and these entries were -2 by 5, 1 by 5, 1 by 10, -3 by 10, 3 by 10, and 1 by 10. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we compute our Zs and Zj minus Cjs because they will change because our coefficients Cjs have changed. Therefore, my Z will also change. Okay. So now your Z dash will be -5 into 2 by 5 plus -8 into 9 by 10. Okay. So that makes it how much? It will be minus of something. And I need my Zj minus Cjs here. Yeah, how much is Z dash now?
-46 by 5.
Yeah. Minus 46 by 5. Okay. Now come to your ZJs. It will be -5, -8. Then what it be? 10 by 5 minus 8 by 10. So that makes it how much?
14/5.
Hmm? No.
Minus 14/5.
No, I don't think so. एक बार check it again.
Ma'am, 6/5.
Minus 6 by
6/5.
6 by
And the other one?
7/5.
7/5. Okay. And your Zj minus Cj's now will be 0, 0, 6/5, 7/5, and 0. Okay. Now all optimality criteria satisfied. All my Zj minus Cj's are more than or equal to 0. And I have Zj minus Cj's equal to 0 exactly only for basic variables. Non-basic variables have more than 0 Zj minus Cj. So that means this is my optimal solution. See, most of the times it happens that phase 1, when it ends, gives you the optimal solution itself. You don't have to move on. But it's not a hard and fast rule. It may be possible that once you start with phase 2, you may have to, proceed on with your simplex algorithm till we reach optimality. Okay. So in this case, since we have reached optimality, so we can say that my problem has a solution where minimum Z dash is minus 46/5, and therefore my problem was to my maximum Z dash is minus 46/5, and therefore minimum Z will be minus of this, which is nothing but 46/5, with solutions x1 equal to 2/5, x2 9/10, x3 0, x4 0, and x5 37/10. Is that okay? So this is my optimal solution. So this is how phase 1 and phase 2 work. The other option, the other case, where phase 1 could have ended was the case when your maximum Z star is 0, fine, but an artificial variable is still present in the basis. We could have ended in that way also, right? That means you are not able to get rid of the artificial variables from the basis, and it is still present in the basis at a non-zero value. You understand by non-zero value means in the table where you end your phase 1, the value of A1 under the column B is non-zero. Okay. So if you end up with such a situation, then we say that the problem has no feasible solution. Okay. So that means in case the problems do not have a feasible solution, phase 1 itself tells us. So we need not proceed on to phase 2. In these cases, we can simply conclude by saying that the given problem has no feasible solution, provided your artificial variable is present in the basis, but at a non-zero value. Okay. The other option could be that maximum, that becomes your case 3, where you can end up, right? So in this case, what may happen is that maximum Z star is 0. As we have seen, that is how phase 1 is ending. Your maximum Z star has to be 0. Okay. Your maximum Z star is 0, but it so happens that artificial variable is in the basis. Okay. But at a 0 value. Okay, so that means the value under the column of B for that particular artificial variable is 0. Okay. In case it's non-zero, definitely no feasible solution. But in case it's a 0 value, we can move on to phase 2. Okay. But in this case, what we can do is when we move over to phase 2, we can attach a value of 0 to that artificial variable in the objective function. Okay. Make the table, right? Proceed on as we do with the simplex algorithm, and probably there itself you will get to know whether the artificial variable gets removed from the basis or not, or whether the problem is going to have an infeasible solution or the problem is going to have multiple solutions. Okay, so in case your artificial variable is present in the basis at the end of phase 1 with a 0 value, this does not necessarily mean that the problem has no feasible solution. It means that it may have a feasible solution, but artificial variable will exit the problem maybe at a later stage. So we can move on to phase 2, start with the original problem, but attach a coefficient of 0 to that artificial variable in the objective function and move on. Okay, so it will automatically get removed in the next iteration, right? So these are the 3 possible cases, you know, where your problem can end up with. Okay. Now let's see, just try this problem. Say, supposing you have to say minimize, again I'm taking a minimization problem, minimize z equal to x1 minus 2x2 minus 3x3 subject to minus 2x1 plus x2 plus 2x3 equal to 2 and 2x1 plus 3x2 plus 2x3 equal to 1 with x1, x2, x3 more than or equal to 0. Okay. Now supposing we were to solve this problem. Okay. Now both the constraints are equality type, so we don't need any slack or surplus variable. We just need artificial variables to begin with. Okay. So your standard form will be maximize z dash, which will be minus x1 plus 2x2 plus 3x3 because it has to be minus of z, subject to minus 2x1 plus x2 plus 2x3 plus a1 equal to 2 and then 2x1 plus 3x2 plus 2x3 plus a2 equal to 1 with x1, x2, x3, a1, a2 more than or equal to 0. Is that right? That is my standard form. Okay. Now we have to write the corresponding auxiliary LPP because we are going to solve it by two-phase method. Okay. So your auxiliary LPP for this problem is going to be maximize Z star, which is minus a1 minus a2 now because all other coefficients will be 0 and other things remaining the same. Okay, subject to your constraints remaining the same. That means minus 2x1 plus x2 plus 2x3 plus a1 equal to 2 and then 2x1 plus 3x2 plus 2x3 plus a2 equal to 1 and with x1, x2, x3, a1, a2 more than or equal to 0. Okay. Now you can start with phase 1 table. Okay. So I start with phase 1 solution first and let's see what happens? This is my XP, CB, B. I'll have my CJs here. Now my variables are X1, X2, X3, A1, A2. And my coefficients are going to be 0, 0, 0, -1 and -1, right? Now, what about your B's? 2, 1, then -2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so your basic variables are now A1 and A2 with coefficients -1 each. Am I right? This will be your first table for phase 1 now. Okay, now quickly proceed on with your Z star, Zj and Zj minus Cjs. Okay. Now your Z star is -3 now. What about Zjs?
0, -4,
0.
-4,
0,
-4,
-4,
-4,
-4,
-1,
-1,
and -1.
-1. Yeah. And your Zj minus Cjs are going to be 0, -4, -4,
0, 0.
0, and 0. Okay. Now I have a tie here, right? Both Zj minus Cjs are equal. So the choice is random. We can choose any one to enter. कौन सा करें?
X2.
X2. Okay. Let's make X2 enter. Okay. So which one leaves? The ratio 2 by 1, 1 by 3. So 1 by 3 is minimum, right? So A2 leaves, right? So 3 becomes your pivot element. So we change R2 to R2 by 3, right? And then make that 1, 0. Hanji. So now I'll be needing your values. So now my basic variables are A1 and X2. X2, X3, A1, A2. Then we have 0, 0, 0, -1, -1, -1 and 0. Okay, so we are dividing this by 3, so it becomes 1 by 3, 2 by 3, 1, 2 by 3, 0, 1 by 3. Now we are changing R1 to R1 minus new R2. Okay, so I need the values now. Hanji. निकाल ली?
5 by 3.
5 by 3.
-8 by 3.
-8 by 3.
0.
0.
4 by 3.
4 by 3.
1.
1.
-1 by 3.
-1 by 3. That's perfect. So your Z star is now -5 by 3. Now let's compute our Zj's and Zj minus Cj's. तो सिंपल है क्योंकि नीचे वाला तो कोफिशिएंट 0 है. So it's simply 8 by 3, 0, minus 4 by
minus
3.
4 by 3 minus
Yeah.
plus
0.
1 by 3.
Sorry, this won't be 0. This will be minus 1. You know?
Minus 1
Minus 1 and 1.
Plus 1 by 3.
1 by 3.
Right. So Zj minus Cj's are now 8 by 3, 0, minus 4 by 3, 0, and 1 by 3. So which variable enters now? We have a
Ma'am, the
negative
last one, ma'am, the last one, 1 by 3, no. Zj minus
It
Cj,
will be
ma'am,
4
1 by
by 3.
1 for
It
A2.
will be 4 by 3
for A2. Yes, yes, yes. It will be 1 by 3 plus 1.
plus 1 4 by 3.
Yes,
4.
ma'am.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So which one enters now?
x3
Ma'am, x3.
X2 क्यों enter करेगा?
X3.
X3.
X3 enters. We have only one negative Zj minus Cj. So X3 enters. Now what about the ratio?
5 by 4 and 1 by 2.
So which one is smaller?
A1.
Hmm?
X2.
2x.
जरूरी हाँ?
1 by 2.
Convert to decimals. That's how you find it easier.
Yes, ma'am, X2 will leave.
This ratio is how much?
5 by
Approximately
4.
5 by 4.
Ma'am, 1 point. And 0.5.
That is 0.5.
and this is 0.5, right? Approximately, right? So this is smaller. So what happens? X2 leaves. So maybe a bad choice in the first table. We had a tie, remember? We could have entered X3 instead of
Yes,
X2,
ma'am.
but then you don't know. You know, it happens at times. So sometimes it's a bad choice, but doesn't matter. It just increases your one step. That's all. Okay. So X3, X2 was never meant to be in the basis. It was X3. So X2 leaves and X3 enters. Okay. So now we make another table here. Now there's no hard and fast rule which is going to tell you that make this variable enters even if there is a tie. Okay. Though for leaving variable, if there is a tie, we call it the case of degeneracy. Okay? We're not going to do that in details right now. Okay. Now, since X2 has left the basis and X3 has entered, so these are my basic variables. And now this 2 by 3 becomes your pivot element. So basically, we are going to divide R2, or we are going to multiply R2 by 3 by 2, right? So it's going to be 1 by 2, 1, 3 by 2, 1, 0, 1 by 2, right? And now change R1 to R1 minus 4 by 3 new R2. You know? Now see what will be the new values.
Ma'am, 1
1,
minus 4
hmm,
minus 2
minus 2,
0
hmm,
1
hmm,
minus 1.
minus 1. That's right. So your Zj minus Cj's are now 4, 2, 0, minus 1, 1, right? And Zj minus Cj's are 4, 2, 0, 0, 1. Now see what has happened. No entering variable because all Zj minus Cj's are more than or equal to 0, right? But you still have an artificial variable in the basis. And what is the value for A1? 1. So that means it's present in the basis at a non-zero level. Okay. So therefore, the problem has no feasible solution.
Ma'am, Zj minus Cj for A2 will be 2.
Yeah, that's what I have written.
Zj minus
The last
Cj.
one for A2. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
For A2 will be 2. That's right. Okay. So you have an artificial variable present in the basis, but at a non-zero level at the end of phase 1. So therefore, the problem is going to have no feasible solution. Okay. Is that clear? So that means no need to proceed on to phase 2 in this case. We can just end up here, right? So this is how your phase 1 and phase 2 can end up. And then you can proceed on to find these solutions for that. But as I said, you know, this method can also be used to solve system of linear equations or even to find the inverse of matrices. So in that case, I mean, why such an idea was required? See, when, say, supposing I have a system of simultaneous equations, okay, let's consider this system. Say, I'm taking a smaller one because we are doing it manually, otherwise you can have large equations also. So supposing I have to solve x1 minus x2 equal to 1 and 2x1 plus x2 minus x3 equal to 3, okay. Supposing I have to solve this system of linear equations. Now, if I have to solve it, of course, you can say because it's just 2 variables, I mean, 3 variables, 2 equations, so not a big deal. We can solve it manually also. But then the problem is that practically, supposing we come across, say, big system of equations, say as big as, say, 10 equations and 20 variables or 20 equations and 15 variables and whatever, right? So in those cases, of course, elementary row operations come handy. So we solve with the help by reducing the given matrix into a triangular matrix and then solving it back and then getting the values for the variables. That's how we've learned in class 12, right? Now, but then when simplex method was introduced, especially the two-phase method, you know, see, if we go on and look at the big M technique, see, whenever we have an equality constraints, that means we have to talk of artificial variables in this case, right? So if we follow the big M approach, then we need an objective function. Why? Because we need to have the coefficients of artificial variables as minus M in the objective function, and then only we can proceed on. But if I just look at my two-phase method, especially the phase 1, does not consider the original objective function at all. What it does is it just simply solves the auxiliary LPP. And auxiliary LPP has coefficients attached only to the artificial variables, which are introduced because of either the surplus variables, that is because of either the more than or equal to type constraints or because of equality type constraints. So if I'm solving a system of linear equations, I have equality type constraints. So what I can do is I can introduce artificial variables here, construct an auxiliary LPP, and proceed on with the phase 1 of your simplex method. Okay, like in this case, what I'll do is I'll simply write my auxiliary. I mean, there is no problem here as such, but since I need an objective function to begin with, so I'll call my auxiliary LPP as maximize Z equal to minus a1 minus a2 because I have two equality type constraints, and these equations will then play the role of constraints in the linear programming problem. Okay, plus a2 equal to 3 with, of course, my x1, x2, x3, a1, a2 more than or equal to 0. That will be my auxiliary LP. Okay, so what I can do here is I can proceed on with the phase 1 solution process of two-phase method and solve it. Okay, so that means wherever phase 1 ends, see, when you have a system of equations with you, you can have only two possibilities. Either the system will be consistent or the system will be inconsistent, right? So if the system is consistent, it is going to have solution. Now, what kind of solution is it going to have is obvious from the equations itself, right? So if it's n number of equations with n number of variables, it's going to have a unique solution. But like in this case, I have two equations but three variables. So definitely it is going to have infinitely many solutions. But what we are going to do from here is find one such infinitely many solutions. That means identify the basic variables, put the non-basic variable 0. That will be one of my solution. And I can give any value to the non-basic variable, and that will give me a set of infinitely many solutions in that case. When the system is inconsistent, that means the system has no feasible solution. And when will that happen? When an artificial variable at the end of phase 1 is present in the basis at a non-zero level. So that will be the case when your system is not feasible. Okay. So like here, if I start with XB, I'll start with the phase 1 problem itself, where my variables are x1, x2, x3, a1, a2, with coefficients being 0, 0, 0, minus 1, minus 1, and my entries being 1, 3, 1, 2, minus 1, 1, 0, minus 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, and my basic variables are a1, a2 with coefficients minus 1 each. Okay, so this becomes the initial table for phase 1 now. So your Z star in this case is minus 4. Now quickly compute your ZJs and ZJ minus CJs, if you can. What are the values here? ZJs?
minus 3,
Minus 3,
0,
2, 1, you know, minus 1 and minus 1, right? And your ZJ minus CJs are also going to be minus 3, 2, 1, 0, and 0. Right? So which variable enters?
Ma'am, x1 enters and a1 leaves.
X1 enters and A1 leaves, because the ratio here is 1, which is minimum, right? So your 1 is your pivot element. So no need to change R1. It is already 1. We just need to change R2 to R2 minus 2R1 new, right? Which is same as old R1 in this case. So again, make a table.
Ma'am, there is 0 in place of 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Kya?
X2
2
0 0.
ZJ
X2.
for
Ma'am, xj for the x2 will be 0.
ZJ for X2, you are saying?
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be 1 minus of minus 1.
Yeah, 1 minus 1 is 0.
No, it's
Yes,
Z.
ma'am. Both are negative, so they will be 1 and
1 minus 1. Okay,
yeah.
okay, 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 okay. Yeah. So x1, x2, x3, a1 and a2. Okay. So your basic variables are now x1 and a2, which is 0, minus 1. We are not changing this. Now, R2 to R2 minus R1. So this becomes no R2 to R2 minus 2R1, right? So 1,
Yes, ma'am.
0. Then what's
3
3?
minus 1
Hmm.
minus 2
Hmm.
1.
1. Fine. Now your Z star and Zj and Zj minus Cjs. So Z star is minus 1 now. What about Zjs? 0, minus 3, no? 1, 2, and minus 1. Am I right? The coefficients here were this. What about Zj minus Cjs now?
Ma'am, 0.
0 minus 3,
Minus
1,
3.
3, 0.
0, minus 3,
1,
1,
3, 0.
3, 0. Okay. So now again, we have only one negative Zj minus Cj, so x2 enters, right? So this ratio, this term is already negative, so not to be considered. So only option left is that A2 leaves the basis, right? So this 3 becomes your pivot element now. Okay. So your next table is going to be with xb's as x1 and x2. With your cj's as x1, x2, x3, a1, a2 with coefficients minus 1, and this is 0. So we are dividing R2 by 3, right? So this becomes what? 1 by 3, 0, 1, minus 1 by 3, minus 2 by 3, 1 by 3. Am I right? Now we are changing R2 to R2 plus R1. Is that,
Yes,
है
ma'am.
ना? यही करना पड़ेगा ना? Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So what becomes here? 1, is it 4 by 3? Yeah. 1, 0,
0.
Minus 1 by 3.
3. 1 by 3.
1 by 3. 1 by 3.
1 by 3.
Right. So your Z star is 0, and now compute your Zj's and, oops, I'm sorry. Now we compute our Zj and Zj minus Cj's. क्या आ रहे हैं अब इसमें? Now,
All zeros.
All zeros, right? And Zj minus Cj's are going to be all zeros, but here I think it will be plus 1 each, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So optimality reached, and there is no artificial variable in the basis. So that means this is your final solution. Now, we were not to optimize any given function because we didn't have an original objective function. We were to solve a system of linear equations, and what are the values that we are getting from here? x1, 4 by 3, x2, 1 by 3. But there was an x3 present, which has turned out to be a non-basic variable in the process. And what do we do with the non-basic variables? Equal to 0. Okay. So this is the solution of the given system of linear equations. So no need to move on because we are not to, either maximize or minimize a given objective function. We were to just solve the system of linear equations. So phase 1 itself tells us how to solve a given system of linear equations. Okay. Similarly, if I had to find the inverse of a matrix, say, okay, like for example, again, I'll take a smaller one so that you can see the comparisons quickly. Say, supposing I'm given a matrix A as, so let's take it as 3, 5, 4, minus 3. Okay. And my problem is to find A inverse using simplex method. Okay. Now, for simplex method, we need two things. Number one, we need the objective function, and we need the what we call as the constraint also. Okay. Now, in this case, we have nothing. We neither have an objective function, we neither have the constraints, right? So what we can do here is that we can construct, we can convert this into a system of equations in the sense that I can bring in a matrix X with x1, x2 so that I can talk of AX, right? But for a system of equations, I need a right-hand side also, right? So what we can do is I can convert this matrix into something of the form 3, 5, 4, minus 3 into x1, x2 equal to. Now this right hand side I can choose random depending upon the values here. See, what will happen is that this product will make my left hand side as 3x1 plus 5x2, and the second equation will something like 4x1 minus 3x2 equal to something and equal to something. So what I can do is I can randomly choose numbers here, depend like here my coefficients are 3 and 5, I take it as 15 and I take it as 12. Okay. Now what has happened? This has become a system of linear equations, just like the earlier case. Okay. We can solve it the way we have done earlier. And then this will give me a solution. Now, the problem is how to read the inverse from that solution then. Now, since we have time, can you quickly solve this system as we have done earlier and then reach the optimal table? How quickly can you do this? That means you begin with the auxiliary LPP. That means you start with maximize Z star equal to minus A1 minus A2 subject to 3x1 plus 5x2 plus A1 equal to 15, 4x1 minus 3x2 plus A2 equal to 12, and of course with the fact that x1, x2, A1, A2 more than or equal to 0. Okay. Now, can you solve it? I just need the final table. So now you do it on your own and just give me the answers at every step. I'll just verify. Okay. So your initially your basic variables are going to be A1 and A2. Okay. The first row, of course, the coefficients CBs will be -1 each. Make the entries. And then see what happens. How much is your Z star in this case?
Minus
I'm
27.
-27.
-27, right? Now your ZJs are
-7, -2,
-7,
-2, -1, -1.
-7, -2, -1, -1. That's right. So your Zj minus Cjs are also -7, -2, 0, and 0?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So which variable enters?
X1.
X1 enters, right? And which variable leaves?
A2.
A2 leaves.
A1, A2, ma'am.
The ratio for A1 is how much?
5.
5.
50.
15 by 3, 5. And that for A2 is
12 by
3.
4.
12 by 4, which is 3. So which one leaves?
A2.
A2 leaves. Fine. So your 4 is the pivot element now. So we are going to make a transformation. Hanji, Tanya, which transformation are we going to make first? Hmm? Can I have the answer, Tanya? Hmm? Raji Agrawal, which transformation are we going to make now? I am abreast. Shalini. Which transformation are you doing? Sanandita, can I have the answer? You can write the answer, Sanandita. I'm just asking for the transformation, not the answers. You can write in your chat box. Jikanika Gupta.
Yes, ma'am.
What transformation are we making?
Ma'am, R1 will be 1 by 3 R1.
Why R1 will be 1 by 3 R1?
Ma'am, because ma'am 15 by 3 ma'am B by X1, so we have 5 as the highest. So X1 enters and A1 leaves.
When we are looking for the leaving variable, do we look for the maximum ratio or the minimum ratio?
Oh, sorry, ma'am. We look for the highest negative for entering and the smallest positive for leaving. So ma'am, X2 leaves.
A2
Ma'am,
leaves.
yes, ma'am, A2 leaves. So we'll do R1 will be R1 by 4. The transformation. R2 will be R2 by 4, the transformation. And then
Yes.
R1 will be R1 minus 3 R2 with the new R2.
That's right. That's perfectly right. So I think in the meantime, we have the new table with us, right?
Yes.
Right. So now our basic variables are A1 and X1
Yes, ma'am.
with the coefficients -1, 0.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Now maybe one of you can speak up the entries row wise so that the others can tally.
Ma'am, the first row will be 6, 0, 29 by 4, 1, minus 3 by 4.
Right.
And the second one will be 3, 1, minus 3 by 4, 0, and 1 by 4.
That's right. That's right. I think all of you have got this only, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now your Z star has improved to -12. No, -6. I'm sorry.
-6.
-6. Now what about your ZJs?
Ma'am, ZJ will be 0, minus 29 by 4, minus 1, 3 by 4.
Right. And ZJ minus CJs?
0, minus 29 by 4, 0, 7 by 4.
7 by 4. So now X2 enters?
Yes, ma'am, and A1 leaves.
And A1 leaves. That's right. Now, which transformation? So who else is sleeping now? 3 I have identified. Just log in and go off, not doing anything. So do I point out others also? Or will you come up with your answers now?
For the first table, R1 will be R1 into 4 by 29.
That's right.
R2 will be R2 plus 3 by 4
By
R1.
4 R1 new. That's right.
Ma'am, value.
Ma'am, the table becomes X2. The first one is 24 by 29, then 0, then 1, then 4 by 29, then minus 3 by 29.
I also need to write it down now because I think this is your optimal table, I believe. Just a minute. So I have XP, CPs, CJs. Now your basic variables, but now see the order I always insist is important. Yeah. Now what is the entry here?
I'm 24 by 29.
24 by 29. And this is?
105 by 29.
105 by 29. Okay. Then I have X1, X2, A1, A2. Right? And the values are 0, 0, minus 1, minus 1. Now, what do I have here?
0, 1.
0, 1, 1, 0.
1, 0. Then 4 by 29. Minus 3 by 29. Then 3 by 29. And 5 by 29.
5 by 29. Right? And you can see now your Z star is 0. So phase 1 will end up here. And your ZJs are going to be 0. And your ZJ minus CJs are going to be 0, 0, and 1, 1. So your optimality has been reached here. Optimality criteria being satisfied here. Okay. Now see, we were to find the inverse, right? And inverse has to be read from this part of the table only. Okay. See, you started with, if you just look at your first table, this portion of the initial table was actually your A, whose inverse we were to find, right? And this part of the table was your I, right? So this is how we move. See, when you, in your class 12, I think you have learned this. We write AI equal to A, right? What do? We convert this A, we apply row operations, we convert this A into I, and we convert this A into I, and we apply the same transformations onto this A, and we ultimately get the product as, again, A inverse, something like that. So same kind of a logic is applied here. So what have you done? You started with your A under the columns of X1 and X2, which you have ultimately reduced to I. So definitely the matrix under the column of A1 and A2 is definitely your A inverse, right? But then the point is that how do we read it from here? For that, I have to see how my variables are placed, okay? So when I write my A inverse from here, just what is your column, what are your values corresponding to your X1? Because that should be your first row, right? So corresponding to X1 is how much? 3 by 29 and 5 by 29. So that becomes your first row for A inverse. Similarly, X2, that becomes your second row for A inverse. So that is the only care you have to take. You can find, you will be able to find, but then when it comes to writing, you have to be careful which row is to be placed where. So minus 3 by 29. So this becomes your A inverse. Is that clear? Okay. So that means we start with the matrix, phase, we convert it to an auxiliary linear programming problem. We solve it using the simplex method. And whenever we end up, you will always see this, that this matrix will always get converted to the identity matrix. The matrix under the artificial variables or the matrix under the initial basic variables. Okay. That will give you your inverse. So that's why I said, do not remove artificial variables. Unlike big M method where we were removing, if we are solving the linear programming problem, it does not make a difference. But then they are required when we are finding the inverse of the matrices. Is that okay? So this is how we use simplex method to find the inverse of a matrix also. Now, while talking of system of simultaneous equations and all, we have seen that we can simply proceed on and then find the solution. Now, the only question mark here is that when we are solving system of equations, it's not necessary that always my system will have non-negative solutions. Okay. Now, the equations that I picked up specifically, it had non-negative solutions, so we could proceed on. But it's not necessary that always your system will have non-negative solutions, because my system of equations can have negative solutions also. So in this case, what we do is, when we convert it into a linear programming problem and when we try to solve it, we assume that all the variables, right, all the variables, all the xj's are unrestricted in sign. Okay, so what basically you are trying to do is you are increasing your variables, but not your constraints. So your calculations do not get affected much, except for, of course, the column entries are increased definitely, but number of iterations are not affected much with that, because number of iterations depends also upon the number of rows that we are handling or the equations that we are handling. Okay, so your variables are to be treated as unrestricted in sign. So the moment we do this, that means every variable is to be replaced by a difference of two variables. So as a result, what will happen is that in the final solution, if one of the variable is taking a negative value, then for that xj dash will be 0. So automatically you will get a negative xj double dash for that. Okay, so this care you have to take while handling this system of linear equations by using a simplex method. Okay, so I mean, this was all about two-phase method to be done. Okay, we have seen that two-phase method can not only be used to solve a given linear programming problem, but of course, linear programming problem solution is the primary objective that is definitely being fulfilled, but we can also use it to solve a system of simultaneous linear equations, and we can also use it to find the inverse of matrices. Okay, so these are the three stages where two-phase method can be applied. And as I mentioned in my last class also, this is definitely better than the big M method. Though I think when you look at it, probably because you have to do calculations and things like that, to convert the given problem into auxiliary first and then solve. So sometimes some students find it a little tedious, but then it definitely has a better convergence rate than the big M or the penalty method. So it gives you, yeah.
Ma'am, can you please repeat this? If we have a non-negative solution, then xj's are unrestricted in sign. Can you please repeat this?
No, what I'm trying to say is that, I mean, when you are asked to solve a system of linear equations, it won't be mentioned in the problem that your system is going to have all non-negative solutions, because a random system of linear equations can have a negative value also. Like I can have a system of 3 equations, 3 variables with values as 1, -2, 3. That there is a possibility that x1 is 1, x2 is -2, and x3 is 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if we put a restriction that all my variables are going to be non-negative, then I will never be able to attain that solution, because
Yes,
it won't
ma'am.
give me my value, right? So to overcome that, I mean, to be sure that we are solving a system of linear equations correctly, it's better that once you are asked to solve a system of linear equations, do not impose the non-negativity restrictions. Okay?
Okay,
Start with the variables as unrestricted in sign. Is it okay now? Okay. And then proceed on. You'll increase your number of variables. Obviously, if you have two variables and 3 equations, you are obviously going to change them to 4. Because every variable will be replaced by 2 non-negative variables. The only thing is that we can apply phase 1 only with the condition that my variables have to be non-negative in nature.
Yes, ma'am.
But when we are solving, we are not sure that the variables, that the given system has non-negative solution. Okay, so we start with variables as unrestricted in sign, convert it to a sort of a linear programming problem corresponding to a standard form, because my variables will be non-negative then, and then construct the auxiliary LPP for that. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is the only care you have to take while solving system of linear equations. Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
So actually this finishes your simplex method as such. Okay. But then the next thing that we have to talk of is the duality process, you know, which is something else. I mean, it's like reading one problem with 2 different perspectives, so that solving one gives the solution for both. That is what duality is. What do you mean by dual? The double of it, or the dual. I mean, dual is not exactly the double, but dual means the same thing, but in a different perspective. So that is what the duality handles with. So as far as the simplex method or simplex algorithm is concerned, this is all that we had to do. And I'm done with that. Okay. So that's all we were to do here. So next class, yes, I'll start with duality first. Okay.